She said it the way someone gives an order they don't expect to be disobeyed. Calm, low, certain. Hold that position. But the way her hand stayed there, steadying my shoulder, her breath close enough to stir the back of my neck, made it impossible to think about form or balance or anything except the nearness of her. The studio was nearly empty. Late afternoon light slipped through the blinds, cutting lines of gold across the floor mats. Outside, the hum of traffic felt distant, softened by the walls and the faint rhythm of music still playing low in the background. It was supposed to be a private session. Just corrections. Just guidance. Her name was Elena, 46. The kind of woman who never needed to raise her voice to be heard. The kind of presence that rearranged the air around her. I'd been training with her for 3 weeks, long enough to know she didn't waste words. She watched people the way others listen, deeply, almost too carefully. When she moved, there was precision in every motion. Not the stiffness of someone performing, but the grace of someone completely at ease inside their body. She adjusted my stance, hand tracing lightly from my elbow down to my wrist. Her fingers lingered a second longer than necessary, then withdrew. "Don't lock your knees," she said. I swallowed. Right. Her reflection caught mine in the mirror. She was watching, but not for mistakes. Something unspoken had started building in the small pauses. In the way she sometimes stopped mid-sentence, like she was deciding how much to say. In the way she avoided eye contact too long, then held it too long when it finally came. "You learn fast," she said, walking around me. Her tone was even, but her eyes had softened. "Most people fight it. You listen." I smiled, though my voice caught. "You make it hard not to." Her lips curved faintly, like she wasn't supposed to react but couldn't help it. She turned away, adjusting a strap on the resistance band rack that didn't need adjusting. The silence stretched. "Again," she said quietly. "Same position." I shifted my stance, slow this time, aware of her watching. She stepped closer. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of her through the thin space between us. She reached around, one arm over mine, guiding it upward. Her bracelet brushed my forearm. The scent of her perfume, something clean like citrus and rain, filled the air. "Breathe," she murmured. I tried, but my chest tightened instead. The clock on the wall ticked too loud. Somewhere in the hall, a door clicked shut. Then, her fingers pressed lightly against my abdomen. "Here," she said. "You're holding tension." Her voice wasn't teasing, but something inside it trembled. The seconds stretched again, a heartbeat 2, 3, and neither of us moved. She realized it first. Her hand dropped. "That's enough for today." Her tone was back to normal. Controlled. Professional. But when she walked to the counter to jot down notes, her pen hovered midair, unmoving. I caught her reflection again. Not her face, but her shoulders, the way they lifted on a long exhale. I stepped closer, pretending to grab my water bottle. She didn't look up, but said, "Same time tomorrow?" "Yeah," I said softly. "If you'll still have me." Finally, she looked at me, really looked, eyes searching for something she didn't name. Her mouth opened, then closed again. She gave the faintest nod. And then the studio door opened, a voice from the hallway breaking the stillness. She turned away fast. "See you tomorrow," she said too quickly. But as I left, I could still feel the warmth of her hand, like she hadn't really let go at all. The next session should have been routine. Same time. Same space. Same stretches. But something between us had shifted. Not in the air exactly, but in the way she hesitated before speaking, and the way I noticed everything she didn't say. Elena wore black again, plain leggings, hair pulled back. No jewelry this time. No bracelet to brush against my skin. But her hands still found their way to me, light but precise, correcting my form, grounding me in ways that made breathing complicated. "You're pushing too hard," she said, her voice soft but edged. "I'm fine." "You're not," she replied, stepping closer. "You're trying to prove something." She was right. I didn't say what. Her fingers pressed into my shoulder blade, guiding it down. "There. Better." I nodded. Her hand stayed a beat too long before sliding away. For the first time, she asked, "How old are you again?" 26, I said. "Why?" She smiled faintly. "You have that thing people your age have. You think time's waiting for you." I wanted to tell her time wasn't waiting. That it moved slower only here, around her, in these quiet afternoons where everything outside the studio dissolved. Instead, I said, "And you don't." Her eyes flickered, not offended, more like I'd brushed against something private. "I stopped waiting a long time ago." She walked toward the window, adjusting the blinds that didn't need adjusting. The light slanted across her arm, tracing lines over her skin. She said, still facing away, "People see what they want to see. You'll learn that." That was the first time she sounded tired. We didn't speak for a while. The only sound was the faint hum of the heater and the squeak of my shoes on the mat as I stretched. When she came back, she didn't correct me this time, just stood behind me, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath when she spoke. "Hold that," she whispered. I froze, not from the stretch, but from the way her voice had dropped, low and steady. Her hand brushed my side lightly, tracing the line of my ribs. She was showing me alignment, but every second of contact felt like a question neither of us could ask. Then, just as quickly, she stepped back. "Good," she said, too brisk. "You're improving." But her tone cracked at the edge. I caught her watching me in the mirror, eyes soft, guarded, like she was memorizing something and hating herself for it. I tried to speak, to say something easy, harmless, but my throat wouldn't open. So instead, I reached for the resistance band on the shelf beside her, and our hands brushed. Not a full touch, just fingertips. She didn't move. Neither did I. The silence thickened, and for a moment, it felt like the entire studio was holding its breath. Then she said very quietly, "You should go home before I forget I'm your trainer." Her words were calm, but her pulse jumped in her throat. I nodded slowly. But as I turned to leave, she reached out, fingers grazing my wrist, almost accidental. Almost. That was the first time she didn't let go right away. It rained the next afternoon, the kind of soft, steady rain that dulled every sound outside. The studio felt smaller, the air heavier. The windows fogged around the edges. Elena was already there when I arrived. No music, just the hum of the heater and the faint smell of rain-soaked pavement drifting in through the cracked window. "You came," she said quietly, almost to herself. Wasn't sure I should. Neither was I. Her smile was small, tired, but something flickered behind it, a relief she tried to hide. The first 20 minutes passed like rehearsal. Movements, instructions, silence. She kept her distance, mostly. But her eyes kept finding me in the mirror. Once, when I turned too soon, our gazes met, too long, too direct. She looked away first. I was on the mat again when her phone buzzed from the counter. She froze. Didn't check it right away. Just stared at the name flashing on the screen, Mark, home, before pressing it face down. "Your husband?" I asked before I could stop myself. She hesitated, then nodded. Kind of." I didn't ask what kind of meant. Her voice was flat, but her shoulders tensed. After that, something in the air cracked open. Not romance, not yet, but truth. She corrected my posture again, moving behind me, her hands more tentative this time. Her palms skimmed my ribs, then paused. "You're holding tension again," she said. "Maybe it's not just my posture," I muttered. Her breath hitched. "Careful," she whispered. "You don't know what you're saying." "I do." Silence. The rain pressed harder against the window. She moved closer. So close that I could feel her body heat through the thin cotton of my shirt. Her fingers slid up my arm, slow, deliberate. "Elena." She didn't answer. Just stayed there, half behind me, half against me, her breath brushing my jaw as she guided my hand into the right position. My heart pounded so loud I thought she could hear it. And then the door handle turned. We sprang apart just as Mara, another trainer, pushed the door open. "Oh, sorry," she said, startled. "Didn't realize you had someone." Elena's tone was too fast, too sharp. "Private session." Mara smiled, oblivious. "You're lucky. She never gives these out anymore." I tried to breathe evenly. My pulse still hadn't slowed. As soon as Mara left, Elena exhaled, long, shaky. She rubbed her hands over her face. "This is getting dangerous." "I know." She met my eyes then, all the pretense gone. The professionalism, the calm, stripped away. What was left was just her. "People talk," she said softly. "They always do. I don't care." She gave a quiet, broken laugh. "You will." The space between us shrank again. Neither of us moved first, but somehow we ended up close enough that her breath touched my cheek. My hand lifted, almost without permission, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. She didn't pull away. For a second, we just stood there, her eyes on mine, her hand halfway raised like she might stop me or touch me or both. The heater clicked off. The silence filled every inch of air between us. Then she whispered, "Don't." But she didn't step back either. The storm hadn't let up. By the next session, thunder rolled in the distance, low and steady like a warning. The studio was empty again, everyone gone early because of the weather. Just her and me, the walls humming faintly with the sound of rain. Elena looked different that day. Less composed. Hair loose around her face, hoodie instead of her usual fitted top. She was stretching when I walked in, but her eyes found me instantly. "You shouldn't have come," she said. "You said the same thing last time. And you still came." I shrugged. "So did you." That got her, the smallest crack in her expression. She stood, smoothing her hoodie, pretending not to notice how close I was. We started like normal. She counted softly, corrected my stance. But something inside her rhythm had changed, her instructions shorter, sharper. When she reached around to adjust my arm, her fingers trembled. "Relax," she whispered. "I can't when you." "When I what?" Her voice was low, dangerous in its steadiness. I met her eyes. "When you're this close." She didn't move, didn't blink. The clock ticked once, twice. Then she stepped forward until there was no space left between us. "Do you think this is easy for me?" she said. Her tone wasn't anger. It was a confession disguised as frustration. "I think you want it as much as I do." She shook her head, but her breath stuttered. "You have no idea what this would cost me." "I don't care." "Well, I do." Her voice broke on the last word. I could see it, the conflict tightening in her throat, the weight of rules, appearances, years. "I've done this before," she said quietly. "Not like this, but close enough. And it always ends the same way." "What way?" "Someone walks away before it ruins them." I took a small step closer. "You don't look like you're walking." Her lips parted just slightly. I reached up, brushing a strand of damp hair from her cheek. Her skin was warm from the workout, from the nearness, from whatever this was. She closed her eyes, just for a second, long enough for me to see the fight leave her shoulders. When she opened them again, something had shifted. "You shouldn't look at me like that," she said. "Like what?" "Like you already know how this ends." My hand was still near her face. She didn't move away. Instead, she leaned into it, barely, like gravity had made the choice for her. The air was thick with rain, and everything we weren't saying. "Elena," I whispered, and her name came out like a plea. She looked up at me, eyes glassy, jaw tense. "You're too young to understand what happens after." "Then tell me." She took a half step forward. The edge of her hoodie brushed against my chest. Her fingers lifted, almost reaching for me, then stopped midair. The lights flickered once from the storm. She caught her breath. Her voice, when it came, was barely a whisper. "If I kiss you, I won't stop." And then the door handle turned. The door burst open again, but this time it wasn't Mara. It was Mark. He stood in the doorway, drenched from the rain, jaw tight, eyes darting from me to Elena. For a second, no one spoke. The air between the three of us crackled like the storm outside. "Elena," he said finally, "you didn't answer your phone." Her face drained of color. "Mark, what are you doing here?" "I came to pick up the papers you said you'd left at the front desk." He glanced around, taking in the empty studio, the closeness between us, her hand still half lifted near my chest. "Guess you got distracted." She stepped back fast, bumping into the rack behind her. The sound of metal rattled, too loud in the silence. "Don't," she said softly. "Don't make this into something it's not." Mark's eyes flicked toward me. "Looks like something." My pulse hammered in my ears. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. "Elena, I..." She cut me off, voice firm now. "Mark, you shouldn't be here." He stared at her for a long time, then at me. "He's just a kid," he said bitterly. "You really haven't changed." She flinched. Just slightly, but enough for me to see it. After he left, slamming the door behind him, the silence didn't settle. It vibrated. She leaned against the wall, hand pressed to her forehead. "You were married to him," I said. It wasn't a question. She exhaled. "Still am. On paper. It's complicated." "So you lied." "I didn't mean to," she said, voice breaking. "It's been over for years. I just didn't want to explain." I turned away, running a hand through my hair, trying to think, to breathe. Rain pounded against the windows, louder now, relentless. "Is that why you keep pulling away?" I asked quietly. She didn't answer. Instead, she crossed the room, slowly, as if deciding with every step whether to come closer or leave. When she reached me, she stopped a few inches short. "That's part of it," she said. "But it's not the real reason." I looked up at her. "Then what is?" Her voice dropped. "Because when I'm near you, I forget I ever wanted to be careful." The words landed between us, soft, devastating. My breath caught. I could see her trembling, not from cold, but from the effort of holding herself back. I reached out, fingers brushing her wrist. Then stop being careful. Her eyes closed, and she leaned forward, barely, just enough for the scent of rain and her skin to mix in the air between us. I can't, she whispered. Not yet. Then tell me when. She opened her eyes, and something in them, guilt, want, surrender, made my chest tighten. Her phone buzzed again. Mark. She silenced it without looking. Then, in one motion, she pulled the key from the studio door, locked it, and set it on the counter. When she turned back to me, her voice was calm but final. If this happens, she said, it changes everything. The studio felt smaller with the door locked. No rain, no thunder, just the slow rhythm of two people breathing, too close to pretend it meant nothing. Elena stood by the counter, fingers resting on the key. I could see the pulse at her neck, fast and unsteady. She wasn't looking at me yet. You don't have to do this, I said quietly. She gave a half laugh, soft, sad. That's the problem. I think I do. When she turned, her face was different. Not calm. Not guarded. Just bare. I took a step closer. Then another. We stopped an arm's length apart. Close enough to feel the heat between us. Far enough to still pretend there was a choice. I've been careful my whole life, she said. Careful with my words, my body, the way people look at me. I kept waiting for something to feel safe. And it never did. Until you. The words hit harder than they should have. I wanted to move, to reach for her, but something in her eyes told me to wait. Elena. She shook her head. Don't make it sound easy. You'll wake up tomorrow and realize this was a mistake. You'll hate that I let you cross that line. I won't. Her lips parted just slightly. You're too young to know that. Maybe, I said, but I know what this feels like right now. Her breath caught. The space between us dissolved as she took one step forward. Her hand lifted, hesitant at first, then steady, until her fingers brushed the side of my face. It wasn't a touch made of confidence. It was a question. I answered by turning into her palm, slow, deliberate. Her other hand came to rest against my chest, feeling the thud of my heartbeat. She didn't move away. Say something, I whispered. Her voice was barely sound. I'm trying not to. Silence filled everything else. The hum of the lights, the rain still whispering against the windows, the air between our words. Her forehead touched mine. Just that. The smallest connection, but it carried everything we hadn't said. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she whispered, If I start this, I can't go back to pretending. Then don't pretend. Her fingers tightened against my shirt. My hands found her waist, uncertain but sure enough. We hovered there, on the edge of something irreversible. And then she stepped back. Not far. Just enough for the air to rush between us again. Her eyes glistened, not from tears, but from knowing. You'll thank me for this one day. I shook my head. I don't think I will. You will, she said softly. Because I'm the mistake that would have stayed. The words hung there, heavier than silence. She picked up the key, unlocked the door, and held it open. Go. I didn't move at first. She didn't either. When I finally stepped past her, our shoulders brushed. One last touch, brief but electric. And for the first time, we both understood what we were walking away from. 3 weeks passed before I saw her again. Not in the studio. She'd stopped teaching there. Someone said she was taking time off, but no one really knew why. I almost didn't go back, but one night I found myself standing outside anyway, watching the lights flicker through the fog glass, waiting for nothing in particular. Then her car pulled up. Same silver coupe, same careful way she parked. She stepped out slowly, hood pulled over her hair against the drizzle. When she saw me, she stopped, hands tightening on her keys. I knew you'd come back here, she said quietly. I didn't plan to. Her smile was small, unsure. You never do. We stood there for a long time, not touching, not moving. Just the rain between us, soft and steady. She looked older that night, not in a bad way, but in a way that made her real again. Human. Did you hate me? She asked. No, I said. I missed you. Her breath trembled. That's worse. I took a step closer, slow enough that she could stop me if she wanted. She didn't. Elena, I said. I'm not here to chase something you don't want. She looked up, eyes searching mine like she was trying to find a lie and couldn't. You think this is about want? What else could it be? It's about time, she said. About what we're allowed to feel before the world tells us we shouldn't. Her voice was steady, but I could see her hands shaking. I reached out, hesitating for half a heartbeat before wrapping my fingers gently around hers. She didn't pull away. I don't care about the world, I said. She smiled faintly. That's what makes you dangerous. The rain thickened. Drops gathered on her lashes. I brushed one away with my thumb, slow and careful. She leaned into the touch this time, her forehead coming to rest against mine. No words, no rules. Just that closeness. The quiet surrender of two people who'd already fought the same battle in their heads 100 times. I can't promise forever, she whispered. I'm not asking for forever, I said. Just now. She exhaled, long and shaking, and then her hand came up to the back of my neck, drawing me closer until our foreheads pressed together again. The warmth of her skin, the rhythm of her breathing, it all slowed everything down. We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft enough to get lost under the rain. You make me forget to be afraid. And you make me remember why it's worth it, I said. We stayed like that for a while. No tension left to hide behind. No fear left to hold on to. Just two people standing under the streetlight, holding the moment like it might slip away. When she finally let go, she didn't step back this time. She just smiled, small, tired, real. Tomorrow, she asked. Tomorrow, I said. And this time, she didn't look away. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?